Just hit some buttons here and have us go live. Now, hopefully everything's functioning correctly. Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is, of course, December 23rd, 2023. I hope your December's been going great for everybody out there. I hope your holiday seasons, whatever holidays you may or may not celebrate, have been going good. It's that festive time of year, no matter what you're doing. Thank you for joining me, Worm.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm messing with that.
So we got a bunch of things to talk about. Not a huge list of them, and then I've got an interesting topic that I forgot to put in a deeper discussion, but I also want to express it in a little better, and I just haven't done that in words, so I'll put that in deeper discussion when we get to it. Because I do have an idea for something. It works on something we did from previously. But I will put into Twitch chat, for those of you who are joining us live, the docket. It will be down below if you're joining us later on YouTube. So you can check out the docket. All the links will be down there for the YouTube people. It will be up in the Twitch chat for those of you joining us live. Let's start with the big one, which is D&D and more AI crap. This time it's technically a nothing burger about what happened, but it was like, it just goes to show you how little their trust is right now. So, during this week, earlier on, they made a statement about, hey, we're not using AI on our Magic and D&D products. Thumbs up. And this was after... Now, this is something that I am not particularly good at noticing. I'm going to say that here. But, there was a picture during the PAX Unplugged panel that I attended of the Dwarf Fighter, so you can look it up online. I'll link the Dicebreaker's article, because I'm going to be honest, I could link the statements from Wizards, but there are a couple of sentences. I don't really think there's a lot to that entire thing, or linking their statements of like, hey, we don't use it. I hope that this one, because I've seen some people talk about this entire thing during the week too. So when people saw this dwarf, the thing is, a lot of people thought it was made by AI because of certain aspects of it that match. I can't remember which AI program it is, but there's one of the AI programs that does a lot of art very similar to the way the dwarf fighter that's shown here is.
I want to say it's ChatGPT, because the AI stuff done with that, or is it? Anyway,
it wasn't ChatGPT. It was another one I hadn't heard about before.
Can't do it, but anyway.
Yeah.
Is it Midjourney?
It might have been Midjourney. It was one of the art ones, and it was the way that like the background was a little bit certain way, the way he was put in the front. His hands were good, but that doesn't mean anything because AI is always learning, and maybe they'll get hands right at some point in time. There was a lot of aspects of the way it was framed. But yeah. I'm going to tell you about...
ChatGPT, you can say, like, give me a picture, I think. I don't know if it's there yet. Then you've got Midjourney, and then you also have... there's another Discord bot. Midjourney's a Discord bot, and there's another one, I forget. It's the common one.
It's one of the common art ones that apparently people thought it was used with.
Me 6, I think, also has an art generation.
Yeah. So, regardless, we do now know there's a statement from the author who has been doing art for many more years than AI art and can show it off, and it just so happens that their style matches a lot of the way that this AI program does things. You know, this is their style of stuff. It's very similar to that, you know. That's why people thought about it. But we do have a statement from the artist. There's someone that's established. They have art dating back over a decade, you know. So this was not AI, at very least.
So, I think that I can totally see why people thought that, but also just as someone who messes around with AI art a lot, I don't think it is. It's got too many good little details that aren't weird. You know?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I agree. it's the good and bad right now of AI art as it is, that it's good if you're looking out for it because it does have little weird things. That's bad if you're looking for using it as an appropriate tool.
Yeah. Like, if someone used it, like, I could see someone using it as a base and then doing a lot of editing to it, to the point of where, like, you wouldn't see the original, maybe, but, like, that'd be a lot of work, and someone who's good at art would just do that from the get-go. Who could make it this good, so I don't see why you would do that.
I mean, again, it's the thing that I keep saying about it, is it's the thing that I feel like it could be a very good tool in the future, but the way that we are now, it just feels like it's ripe for abuse. And I think that's the problem. And I think we've talked about it, that there needs to be some kind of maybe regulation or set guidelines or something that can help make it, because AI isn't necessarily a bad thing if we use it appropriately as an actual tool. It just could be another part of everybody's, toolbox. A very good toolbox. Just, you got to figure that out at some point in time. Not there yet. So, like, again, we already have everything that's happened this year. The thing that just happened with Hasbro laying off people, especially people in their art department. So it was sort of like, well, I mean, maybe not especially, because that was in the Wizards art department. We know they lost a bunch of people, and some other places too. But I mean, that stands out when there has been actually some small issues related to AI art over the year. Now, granted, Wizards has said they didn't mean to do anything. And, from the evidence, it does seem as like they're not attempting to pull the wool over people's eyes. It's just things have happened over the year. But we just don't have trust in them anymore. Completely and utterly gone after this year. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why people thought that, but I feel like because it has elements of it in the way it's... Honestly, it's funny, because, like, if I had to say something that's, like, AI artish, is probably the lighting.
Yeah. I think the way that the character versus the background was portrayed, I think, is one of those things that whatever AI art program was mentioned,
there's too much... Yeah, there's too much detail and not enough jank for it to be AI art. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care who you are, you can't get things that good right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
So AI art is generally fine with fingers at this point. The number of fingers.
So I think the person is Christian Hoffer, I guess, is the one that did the artwork of the dwarf. And he's already made a statement of it. I believe. Oh no, it's not that. That's the writer that got the statement from the person. I'm sorry, and the person that drew it is
Nestor Osando.
Yeah, there you go. So it's up. So sorry. Yeah, there you go. So I guess if you want to look into Nestor yourself, you can. But yes, they are like, yeah, no, I don't use AI. It's just my art style. And again, it's one of those things is we're reaching a very strange area when it comes to, and I feel like it's the thing that overall, the way that we don't trust people to use AI art when they shouldn't is what's breaking trust in a lot of art when they do not use it. It's kind of that thing of like, people are breaking our trust in the use of stuff. And that just doesn't help us overall, I think, as a group. I mean,
there's also a lot of people, especially in, like, the art community, who just want to throw hate at AI art, just to hate it.
It's... I'll go ahead and finish this idea.
Yeah, and so I was going to say that, like, so the thing is that when someone goes, oh, that kind of looks AI generated, and someone else goes, yeah, and then a bandwagon starts. So, like... Yeah. And that's, I think, what mostly probably happened here, because, like, looking at this, I'm like, I can see why someone might have thought it, but no. And I think that's going to happen a lot, especially because, like, there are a lot of, you actually have to work with AI art to be really good at seeing, like, kind of the difference.
Mm-hmm.
but the people who hate it are like, no, I would never use that. That's evil, you know? And so there's going to be this problem where the people who don't know if it's aired or not are going to start assuming bad of people because they're funny or something.
Because definitely there's like these levels of things, and I think it's sort of like when we talk about AI art, there are different levels to it, and I feel like also there is this. It's again, if done properly, used properly, made in such a way, it's an interesting tool for things. And I feel like that's the direction we want it to go in, that AIs would be tools. But we have a lot of, honestly, abuse and theft right now for artists when it comes to AI art, and I think that's why so many of them are angry. And we have bad apples in the entire thing, ruining stuff for people that maybe are trying to develop some kind of actual tool, you know?
Yeah.
And again,
so I do want to say my art style is safe because I've tried and it's impossible to get a current AI generator on the market to do pixel art.
I think the thing is like, I can't remember all the details, but we did talk about earlier this year about the AI scandal with the person who did some art but then used AI touch-ups to it. You know. That's more along the lines I'd rather have, and yes, people seem very angry about that, and I'm like,
Again, it's just a lot of people like to bandwagon and hate on AI, even though it's going to, in the long run, highly benefit society.
We just have to figure out great ways to use it. The touch-ups thing was the great way to use it, so you don't have to, so it makes it that you're more efficient at your base art, that you can create something, or something like that. You know, you are the artist to begin with, and use it to touch up and improve your work in places that maybe would be time-consuming or difficult, you know?
This is a thing where it's like, okay, well, AI image generation, I think, is the thing we need to obviously regulate and stuff. But because here's the thing, we've been using AI for art for a very long time. How do you think? How do you think Photoshop can edit? How do you think you edit someone out of Photoshop? It doesn't just know what the background looks like. It has to guess and fill it in and make it look good. That's an AI image generation. It's a touch up.
It's certainly more primitive than things we finally have now, but it is. You agree? It is a basic.
But it uses a lot of the same kind of programming concepts that AI art does.
Yeah.
The idea, and so that's kind of the thing is, so at what point, is it bad? So the touch-ups thing though is it depends on how bad it is. If it's literally I sketched out a 2-year-old drawing and hit a button and it figured out the rest for me, that's, is that now, okay? So
I gotta be honest, there's a lot of discussion in that. And there's a lot of things that society has developed for, this entire thing. We're never gonna get rid of AI. We just have to figure out a way to live with it properly. And honestly, it's the one thing that I think, with all the talks we've kind of agreed on, there needs to be some kind of regulation, and I just don't know if we're going to get it anytime soon. The government's really slow at everything. All the governments are very slow at this kind of shit, so it just feels like they're going to be behind schedule way too much. But we need it.
I mean, it will be, and that's the thing. Governments are always slow to change. Regulation generally comes only when quick regulation generally only comes when something causes a large economical upset or threatens the government directly. Those are the only 2 times we'll get quick change.
I think it's this idea that we have to think about, that we technically will always need artists. As much as AI art can create art, it creates it from existing material that it knows about. If it doesn't get anything new, it's not going to create anything new. That's the kind of problem. It's just going to be, it's going to be, generally speaking, in the same kind of wheelhouse. It needs,
as long as photographs exist, that's actually not 100% true.
Okay, we can add photographic stuff into it with photographs.
Yeah.
Yes, but still.
Because it can pull from any kind of image. But yes.
But photorealistic is only one type of image you usually want. And I assume photographs
Yes.
from them will create more photorealistic.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily. I mean, again, it depends. You could use a photorealistic image and then say cartoonize it, and it might be able to figure that out. If that, it will have to know like what a cartoon looks like too. So at that point, you're now making it. It's a lot to like process and think about. I think the biggest thing isn't like. Honestly, I think the easiest way is basically just to say if it's used. I mean, the easiest thing to say is if it's used like as an AI thing, then it shouldn't be like. Then it's like Creative Commons or unmonetizable, basically, where it's just all like you can't own it. You know?
Yeah,
it would be a very easy way to do it because
honestly,
companies will stop using it.
Yeah, no, that'd be a great thing because it's like you can't monetize it as part of it. So yeah, you know, your images will be free to anybody to use then, whatever version of it and kind of the creative side of it, which companies won't like. And yeah, the thing is that seems appropriate because then, you know, if I'm using the AI art generation for something personal, I'm not going to make money off of it. I was never planning on making money off of it. There you go. You know.
And like, I mean, if someone was like, "Hey, can you show me that?" Like, if I use AI art in, like for example, Ada is AI art.
Mm-hmm.
The image I made, and it's like if someone's like, "Oh, hey, can I use that?" Sure, I don't care. You know, like, don't even ask. Here it is. You know,
yeah.
Go ahead, because it's just like I did it because I needed something quick and dirty, and like. I mean, I do pixel art, but that doesn't fit your style, so I didn't want to use that, like, a pixel art character concept in your game.
Yeah, I've been going well, you know, I'm using a lot of the pre-made material from the Pathfinder book, so I kind of have to go by their style almost.
Okay, maybe I should clarify even more. It wouldn't fit the style of everyone else, because, like...
That's true, yeah.
Like, we couldn't have a whole pixel art party. Unless I did everyone's art, and then at that point, then it'd clash with the NPCs, which are more, you know, art. So I'm like, you know what? I mean, because it's like I could have. I actually wanted to, but then I'm like, so I didn't.
Thanks for the resub, Blaze. Welcome. So yes, more statements, more stuff going on about that. You know, it's the existence of there's always going to be some kind of controversy, I think, in that region of stuff. And honestly speaking, it's just Wizards.
Welcome, new citizen of the Empire.
That was incredibly delayed on the stream's end. Because it popped up in my chat a little while ago, like 30 seconds to a minute ago. I don't know why that's so delayed. It'll be fine.
Probably the hiccups that were happening earlier probably caused some things to slow down. That's what happens.
Yay, technical hiccups. I was having technical hiccups to start.
Yeah, it can create a slowdown. Because, like, for me, it happened at around the same time. But that's because, so...
Okay. So there is something else to kind of throw out there related to D&D and Wizards, and that is that's interesting because this is Dungeon Dudes Ghostfire Games is putting up an adventure on D&D Beyond, but I'm curious as the current status of what it means to put something up on D&D Beyond. Does it mean you technically give up all rights to it right now, like they talked about doing? Does it just mean you're getting, like, a percentage of it? I've heard of the Dungeon Dudes before. I've heard of Ghostfire Gaming. It's the adventure of Dungeons and Drakkenhein. 1 to 13th Cosmic Horror Campaign, 50 new monsters, a lot of magic items, maps, all kinds of stuff. It seems neat. It's a third-party adventure that's up there. But again, like, you know... I guess it's like, if people want to use it, they want to use it as long as they know what they're getting into. Yeah. It just made me think of... What's going on? Go ahead.
I want to say that, like, I mean, any platform you put stuff on is going to take a cut. Drive-thru RPG, Roll20.
Yeah.
D&D Beyond. So, that's always going to be a thing. Unless you sell, like, directly from your website, you're not going to get the full value.
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of, weren't they, when they were changing their, policies along the OGL, I thought they'd also put in that, basically if you put something up on D&D Beyond, they technically own it and can do anything with it. They were talking about that, I believe, at the media. I don't know if that's true anymore. It might not be.
I doubt they did because I know a lot of people threatened to pull their stuff off of.
Yeah.
So,
maybe it's a good sign that they still have whatever past policies they had before, which were fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, look, we got we got it out there. So, again, it seems neat. I don't know a lot about the Dungeon Judes other than I've heard of them a few times in passing through, the grapevine of... I've gotten more into knowing about more content creators this year because of the OGL stuff. I gotta be honest, it opened me up to a lot more of the tabletop people that are out there, listening to them and what their thoughts and, seeing where news and stuff was coming from, growing all the things that were happening there. So, yeah, and Ghostfire Game I've seen in places, so, anyway. Wanted to mention that, so, hey, if you want to check it out, it's full adventure up for $30, so, let's talk about Green Ronin Press a little bit here, as we get going some more, as my link would allow me to copy it here. So they are talking about a new Kickstarter that's coming out soon, beginning of next year, which is a week and a day away. Launching on January 16th is Valiant Adventures, which I'm pretty sure it's a Mutants and Masterminds book.
Hold on.
Hmm?
User content. In Wizards terms, legal terms. By posting or submitting any user content to or through the websites, games, or services, you hereby irrevocably grant to Wizards a worldwide, perpetual, irrevocable, royalty-free, non-exclusive, and fully sub-licensable license to use, reproduce, modify, adapt, publish, translate, create derivative works from, distribute, perform, and display such user content in whole or in part in any media, and to incorporate the user content into other works in any format or medium now known or later developed. Ha!
I mean, there are still points in time where I would understand you do that. Honestly, it's a very good place to put it, and they did actually put it out that, oh, hey, this has been released in the D&D Beyond news. So, it can be very successful. If you go very...
I do want to say, actually, thinking about it, the reason this is important is because basically, if they want to display a picture of your book, and you do not explicitly give them the right to, or have not agreed to something that says they can, you could in theory sue them. So this isn't as horrible as it sounds. You kind of need stuff like this. I'm not confident enough to know how overpowering this is, though. This does seem like a lot more than I've seen in other things, but
I think
I'm not certain of that.
I do think from what I heard, remembering backwards during the OGL talks, is I think they implemented it then, and they just never changed it, I guess, is that is a little extreme when it comes to these type of things, but it is again, there's still a use and a place for it. It's not, completely insane. It's just, you have to know what you're getting into in this case, kind of thing,
Yeah. It seems a little bit more than a lot of people do.
Yes.
It's fully non-exclusive, irrevocable.
You're not publishing it on your own or putting it up on DriveThruRPG. You're putting it up on our website. Yeah. We kind of own you also, bitch. But yeah. So yeah, the Valiant RPG coming to Kickstarter for the 16th.
Oh gosh, yeah. You waive any and all claims that any use by us or our licensees of your user content violates any of your rights, including moral rights, privacy rights, rights to publicity, proprietary attribution or other rights, and rights to any material or ideas contained in your user content. Okay, yeah, this is a bit much.
Yeah, I thought so. But again, like, if you're going for something that's a little bit more generic, you're not building your own system, you're just coming up with some ideas and putting them together in a book, like, oh, here's a bunch of monsters, here's a bunch of items, here's a dungeon, that can be very system agnostic. Honestly speaking, you're not really giving up all that much, you know?
Yeah. I do gotta yeah, you're kind of giving up art, your content, wording and such, but ultimately, I think that it's not, again, it's not a ton, and also these things aren't like as legally binding as you think they are.
Yeah. If something happens, there could be more.
Yeah. So, because it's kind of like this thing where it's all like,
and
so.
And I'm not gonna lie, publicity being up as part of one of the news articles on D&D Beyond, kind of being like a front page. Well, they don't really have a good front page, but up their article, you know, where people can notice it very well, and then advertised heavily like that. That could mean a lot of success, and so it's sort of like success and a lot of funding. So maybe I could publish something on my own in the future for giving up, again, something that could be a little bit more system generic. It might be worth it, you know. Sure, you can use this shit. I have other ideas for, like, my own world, but I need some money, and you're gonna earn it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to Valiant Adventures, because finally, I do want to talk about it, too, it's fine. That was, we found some more information about the old one. It's based on Valiant comics, it's Mutants and Masterminds, but it's honestly, whenever people mention Valiant comics, I go, oh yeah, that's a thing. I keep forgetting it exists. Yeah. I don't know a lot about Valiant Comics. I'm gonna be honest about that. I know very.
Are they a company like DC and
Marvel? They're lower than that. They are smaller than them, and they're known for more gritty.
I know that. I'm just saying they're that kind of company in the sense that like they make. I'm not saying to the same degree. I knew that.
Yeah. I understand. They're a comic company, and they're making, like, you know, and it's made to be standalone in and of itself, but it's also fully compatible with normal Mutants and Masterminds, so you can use the old stuff too. So it's sort of like that's the kind of thing is you could just use the book on its own, or you could combine it with the other Mutants and Masterminds stuff. So I've played Mutants and Masterminds before. It's a fine superhero RPG system. I think it does pretty good. Honestly speaking, I don't know enough about Valiant to kind of like be like, yes, this is definitely like going to work with Mutants and Masterminds, because I'm like, it's probably work anyway. It's Mutants and Masterminds is like, it's a you purchase powers kind of RPG. Most of those superhero ones are that you get a bunch of different powers. So if you have pretty realistic powers, they're still powers. There's not really much of a difference. It's just, I guess, the way you make characters and some other details. So, yeah.
It could be that's more limiting. Things a bit
that's true.
Realistic.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's why the book is like kind of standalone, because if you're just using it, it kind of limits the way you build characters. But it might introduce things that would be interesting to bring overall to your Mutants and Masterminds game. They're going to put out 3 books: a Hero's Handbook, a Game Master's Kit, and then a World of Valiant source book. So, setting, Game Master, Handbook, you know, all the things you probably need to do its own thing. But again, it's probably comparable to, like, it's a little okay. I have a comparison, but it's one of those things that's like, I'm going steps farther in comparison, and this is closer. It's like a third-party campaign setting with some unique mechanics to a D&D 5e game and taking them and doing them with other D&D 5e stuff. It's technically compatible with the way people build 5e material. But, it might be very different. This one it's another superhero world. It's just as compatible with that, but it's, it's its own thing. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know a lot about Valiant Comics, so if you're a fan of Valiant Comics or that universe, or you want to try something a little bit more, I guess as they say, gritty, realistic for your superhero games for like Mutants and Masterminds, then this might be what you're looking forward to. And it's like 3 or 4 weeks before the Kickstarter launches, 16th, a little less than a month. So yeah. So, I had to talk about this topic because I noticed it when I was going through the news on some dice breakers, and we had just talked about, because I put the topic in, of wizards and AI art, and apparently the Terminator RPG makers catch and remove AI-generated artwork from their source book. So, hey, it's happening a bunch. People are noticing. Oh, are you frozen up? Am I frozen up?
What?
Oh,
am I good?
For a second, it looked like we were frozen up.
We were for a second. Yeah. I mean, how are your frames?
No drop frames. I don't know why we're choppy. I might be getting some kind of It could be Twitch or something. Could be Discord. Something's interfering on my Discord and stuff too.
No, I mean, see, that's the thing is, like, I'm watching it be choppy on the stream, and, like, we're fine,
but I just minimized everything in my Discord, and I noticed when I, like, turned my head rapidly, I went all, like, squeezy on both for a second. So, like, my video's looking weird a little bit sometimes, too. I don't know. Whatever. Something's on. Hey, technical hiccups. Yay! So, yeah, the Terminator RPG, basically, it was a Kickstarter campaign, which I think we might have talked about earlier in the year, or last year or something. It sounds familiar for me remembering to talk about it. Effectively, the studio that was working on it published a post on the 19th, so only 4 days ago, informing its backers that it identified and excised 16 separate illustrations from the Terminator 2 or T2 Judgment Day sourcebook, which kind of focuses on that area. Apparently, the title was Skynet Tried a Stealth Attack, which, honestly, I give it to them that they're cheeky about it, that they're like, oh, hey, we found something out, this is pretty terrible, but we are the Terminator people, we can make an AI joke, Basically, one of the members of the 4-person studio noticed that an image bore telltale markers of an AI cool generations.
Stuff I mentioned where it's just like, the backgrounds are, like, you'll notice that, like, certain aspects just look off, and blah, blah,
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was skimming through it, so it's like, yeah, apparently they ran it through an AI art identifying program, although they didn't say which one. And it came up with a 99.9% match with Midjourney, along with several other images that this artist created. And then they asked the peers.
I think that's good because, again, like, I have heard that programs that detect whether it's AI or not are pretty good, but they're not perfect.
We have really good AI generation, but not very good AI detection yet. There are a lot of people working on that kind of stuff, though. Yeah.
So, talking to the peers and finding out from the peers about that was a good move, too, that they're like, oh, yeah, So
people had paid for large amounts of money for what they found out was AI generated. So
yeah, and I mean, like, they're talking with Skydance Media, the people that hold the Terminator rights, about it, and they're having a good discussion about it, and the thing is, they're honest about the entire thing, and that's good, it's like, okay, someone we trusted did something that we don't like, and that we weren't planning on. Sorry, folks, we're fixing the problem. So, Oh god, this was 2021 that it was crowdfunded. That must have been when I fucking talked about it. God damn it. Years blend together. I swear I talked about it at one point in time, so it's like, oh god, it's 2 years ago. 2.5 years ago, at least. Jesus.
At least they caught it and fixed it, and they're also, this is the thing, is like, again, like, I'm someone who's just like, is this one of them, actually? Is the one image image credit, Nightfall Games, Skydance Media. I'm just trying to figure out if this is the... So, because that's the...
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they didn't... So, no, it's not necessarily one of the ones. Otherwise, they wouldn't necessarily have to credit it. Because current rules are, I don't think it's... I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so it's kind of just... Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least they're catching it. They're trying.
Yeah, again, we hear these stories, and it's people that are acting not in good faith. And they are basically making issues for the rest of us, when it comes to trust and wanting to, find good use for this stuff. It just takes some bad people to kind of ruin it for the rest of the world.
I mean, in theory, this is already technically, a criminal act. Not that it's easy to press charges on something like this.
Mm.
But, in theory, he lied to a person he was doing business with about what he was doing, So
True. Yeah.
I think, because apparently he confirmed that he does not use it. So yeah, he confirmed multiple times that he wasn't using AI generation. Like the first one with the ice giants for Wizards of the Coast, where it's the guy used touch-ups, he just didn't tell Wizards of the Coast and they didn't ask. So he was not necessarily liable for anything. This guy in theory is liable for perjury? Is that the one where you lie?
Might be violating a contract. Perjury is usually under oath, so lying in general is not necessarily bad, but because in good faith, he basically lied about that it was his work he created. So that could be the kind of thing, which is breaking a contract and taking money for it or something like that. So there theoretically could be something, but it's nuance in the kind of way the law is, so it might be there, it might be not, especially because I don't know how well AI fits into
I feel like if they really wanted to, they could probably press charges, but also I feel like it just wouldn't be worth it.
They might not. It could just be honestly, in circles, ruining the person's reputation kind of thing, informing people without, because they were nice enough not to throw the name out into the public.
Yeah, they did
but that
not.
It doesn't mean that other companies haven't learned who did this, which is not good.
Yeah.
Also, people might know who it is, but their name shows up unrelated to some art in the book, Yeah. They might come out still, just won't be right now. That Warhammer 40k stuff, which was kind of in a weird limbo for TV and film, is actually it has had a major backer to it, Amazon. So if you didn't know, the long story of the short of the story is Henry Cavill, who was doing The Witcher, basically was working with some people to produce some Warhammer 40k material because he's a big Warhammer 40k nerd, and basically took a step away from The Witcher to work on that. It's kind of had gone into a little bit of a limbo, it sounded like, because actually a couple of weeks ago, I had heard there was some talk about no one knew what was going on about it, related to someone that was talking about Warhammer, I saw, so there was still some question about what was going on, and it turns out there was something going on. They were probably hammering out a deal with, Amazon, to basically produce it, which is good. Getting a producer is really important to these kind of things. It's a big step to, be able to, put this stuff to actually exist.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it'll come up on one of the Amazon streaming services first, probably. But it's part of the streaming war, except, now we got Warhammer in the streaming war, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they've got the 40k, but they don't say anything about Age of Sigmar. Henry Cavill's still the executive producer and will star in multiple projects still and is related to it. We had heard first about this back last year, and yeah, so look, I'm sure Games Workshop is happy. Yeah.
I did like the memes about why it stalled. It's like, yeah, Henry Cavill was making sure everyone who was involved had a full 400-point army and before they continued or something like that. Or, I don't know how many points it was. I don't know it well enough.
No. I actually, without having played it, I've played some other miniatures games. I understand those jokes.
No, I understood the joke. It's just like I don't remember the points.
Oh, you don't remember the points? Yeah.
It's like it's like a full X number point army, fully painted.
I do love that. I remember hearing about him and a co-star in, I think it was Witcher, were playing Warhammer in between their shoots and stuff like that. Oh, God, look, if you love that kind of thing, you're willing to put the work in, great. And I'm not gonna lie, the Warhammer universe, which I learned about a lot more about it this year, especially the 40k universe. I probably want to learn about Age of Sigmar at some point. 40k universe is a very interesting one. It's not terrible.
I know an absolute metric crap ton of bits and pieces. I actually have no context to most of it.
I have seen a couple of videos now that were describing things like the different factions, the different I can't remember the terms for everything on top of my head because I love the different groups of space marines and stuff like that, factions of man, the different beings that are out in the universe, stuff like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of those different things, but in my brain, I'm just like, I have no idea how any of this actually connects together into a plot line.
How does it work in the game? I don't know how it works in the game. How it works in their plot line is everybody wants to try to murder everybody else, and they're all horrible.
Yeah, but there's also because I had a lot of friends growing up who were really into Warhammer lore. Funny enough, they didn't actually play the game.
Yeah.
And then I'm also in 2 Discord servers that talk Warhammer a lot, so. It's like I have this vague, weird third-party thing where it's like, I like Warhammer, it's really cool, maybe, but I actually know absolutely nothing about, the universe in a whole except for bits and pieces.
It seems like, this is the finalized deal, and basically, I guess, they were working on some material, and then there was a bunch of companies that were kind of vying for, the rights to produce it. I guess Amazon just gave the best deal. I got it soon,
What's the
so,
Witcher
yeah.
on?
What?
What's the Witcher on?
I have no idea what it was on. That's something that would have to be...
I don't remember if it was Amazon or not.
That'd have to be looked up. Could have been Netflix. Could have been Amazon. I never remember who would until I actually want to go and look for something. I have no idea where these things are. Thank you. Netflix.
I thought it was Netflix, but I wasn't certain.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't tell with these things. But again, seeing a lot of stuff on Warhammer 40k and understanding a little bit, it's a very interesting universe for, a kind of gritty, honestly theologic sci-fi universe, where it's extreme, weird space religion, of worshipping, your effectively zombified man god,
Yeah. Who somehow creates a psionic energy which allows people to use their Geller fields to travel through the warp.
Yes, it's basically
that's why they worship him, because if he were to die, they wouldn't be able to travel through the warp anymore.
I think they could still technically travel through the warp, but he allows safe travel through the warp.
Yeah, that's what. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's functioning as basically a sub-dimensional lighthouse for people to travel faster than light,
Yeah, it's a whole weird thing. I also like how you literally just travel through hell.
Yes! Well, again, it wasn't always necessarily hell until the elf people, made it into hell even more than... Oh, no, it was the Great War. Okay. I saw a history of it, that it was like, it was kind of bad, but basically there was this, like, galactic war, which, you know, spanned, like, a couple million years, like 100 million years ago, some kind of thing, that basically, like, slaughtered off billions upon billions, and that basically, in a very short period of time, and basically rather than your normal people dying at a slow rate, which kind of goes their souls there, and some get picked up by, like, the parts of it that are really hell, where, like, those chaos gods are. Instead, those chaos gods got, like, this full, like, thing, and basically expanded their areas, and, you know, became much more powerful in a very short period of time, instead of, like, the trickle in that doesn't really power them, you know? So, yeah. Giant super death war basically created the problems millions of years ago, and they're still felt today.
Got it.
And then elves went all, like, pornographic and created, like, a lust-eating chaos god, too, you know?
Oh, they created Slaanesh?
Yes, they basically killed and fucked each other until Slaanesh formed. So when Slaanesh was born, most of them died except for, like, a small handful that were, like, looking at this going, you know, all this, like, you know, sex and murder at the same time, this doesn't seem like a great idea. I know we've been bored, but, you know, maybe we should go off this way. And then some other ones survived because they were technically somewhere in, like, a sub-dimension, but now they have to basically, they're the worst people to meet because they don't kill you like a lot of the other races. They basically, like, slowly torture you and destroy you from inside, and then turn you into basically furniture to torment you for all eternity until you actually die, because they're doing that keeps them from being devoured by Slaanesh.
Okay.
Warhammer's terrible.
It's wonderfully terrible.
It's wonderfully terrible. Look, having heard about this, like, in the little, because I saw someone talking about this again, like, the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, yeah, this stuff, and I'd seen it earlier in the year, this stuff is just, it's what makes me interested in the expanded universe, because I ain't ever going to purchase any of these miniatures unless I would get super rich. And even then, I don't know if I really would, too.
Yeah. No, but as far as lore goes, I just remember it's like, and if, like, I remember, like, the ending of this video that, like, got memed the heckin' back, was like, if you really like this, you can, it's like, and you want to look more into the lore, good fucking luck.
It's crazy shit. Just hearing someone that can, like, summarize it still, you're like, there's a lot here that I'm sure is really crazy, you know, even after the summary. Anyway. So, hey, there you go. Big boost for Games Workshop. And I got one final kind of topic today, because it's free stuff, and everybody likes free stuff. Not gonna lie. It's just one of those things we all like, and that is a combination of free items you can get, and this is one of them, because it's probably the best one of all of them, from Modiphius of Achtung Cthulhu, but they're doing it in their 2D20 system, which I'm not... What I'm thinking is, because I'm not 100% sure, that Achtung Cthulhu, the normal system, might not be 2D20, but they have a version of it now that is 2D20, and they're kind of advertising it with the quick start rules and the other two products, which I'm trying to think of the two products. A reference sheet and a wallpaper pack. They have done 2D20 stuff before, also, but it looks like they don't just do 2D20 things for it. Because some of them are marked 2D20 and some of them aren't. So, yeah. I honestly don't know if they're all 2D20 or they're not, because of the way they say it. It's like one of those things that I'm not sure. Oh yeah, because there's Achtung Cthulhu Legacy, and then Achtung Cthulhu 2D20. So I'm guessing Legacy is the original, and they've begun doing it in their 2D20 system now that they're publishing it, you know. So they're just doing it more on that. And so they might have a Legacy quick start. But now, if you want a free 2D20 quick start, and you want to look at playing some Nazis versus allies, as the Nazis are trying to summon Cthulhu or another, you know, Lovecraftian horror into the universe, go ahead. And you too can be, you know, part of the special forces of the allies to stop, you know, Nazis from summoning Cthulhu or his cousins. It's an interesting set. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like a good quick start pack, because they always just give you some cool information about it. Alright. So, I have to figure out how I want to express this, because we've talked about in the past, in videos, I actually have had us talk about holidays and festivities within our RPGs. But what I was thinking about with the upcoming holidays, and I'm noting here, I decided this, I haven't really talked about it, that I was originally talking about doing like a holiday thing like on Tuesday. I'm going to basically give myself a week, because it's been very busy in the last couple of weeks, and see about maybe I can organize it like around New Year's. If I can do that, I got an extra week. I can see if it, Worm, you and Joe, I was going to poke you a little later on, possibly.
Yeah.
If I moved it, if that might work better. Maybe I can find some more people, that way. A little easier.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be fine for me.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. But, again, like, it gives me a little bit more time, and we're still sort of in the season anyway. I don't have to have it right after Christmas on Tuesday. And just haven't had time to, like, really organize stuff the way I want to. So.
Yeah.
But that made me think. We've talked about having holidays and celebrations in games. But I think an important part about this that we really didn't discuss as much as rather than just having these things is the style of them that actually work in games and are very easy to make in games. Because I'm not going to lie, there are a lot of different types of festivals and holidays out there, and, like, certainly, you can probably make an RPG out of any of them, but some of them are just a little bit of a stretch in ways, like an adventure.
Okay. There was a hiccup there. What'd you say?
I was saying that, like, there are plenty of, like, holidays, festivities, things like that you certainly could make a RPG adventure out of and have with players. But some of them are just really a stretch if you're not going for something like a one-shot and not going for something a little serious. Because I'm going to admit, every time I try to do... I've done a couple of the Christmas ones in the past. Every time I do a holiday one, it's just kind of silly. You can't get away from that. You're never going to really play that up for like a serious thing about like a Christmas time thing, It's always going to be a little bit of like, it's referencing something Christmas related, or it's a similar kind of holiday you're doing, and a spirit of happiness kind of, gift-giving time of year. If unless you're using it just as a backdrop, you're not really making it part of the adventure, which, I mean, it's sort of like...
So, this now makes me want to run... I don't know why, but your talking just made me now really want to run a sci-fi thing, like a sci-fi game set in the future, that's basically people made or like, the plot is based around that people made a religion out of Hallmark Christmas movies. Like, it's not like the spirit of Christmas, it's specifically like, oh, like, I don't know how you do it, but I don't know why, I just have that idea now. Anyway, go ahead and steal it if you want, but I might do that someday.
But, again, like, it's like, I think...
I actually have to watch a Hallmark Christmas movie, though.
Certainly, like, it might be easier with in-world holidays, because, like, if we're talking about, like, Pathfinder, or with Galarian, or with D&D, with the Forgotten Realms, they do have lore-based holidays you can play with, so you can use them. Things like Harvest Festivals are probably pretty easy, because it's just, that's like a, hey, there's some, we're celebrating this time of year. You can certainly make a plot line that revolves around that. Someone's poisoned the harvest, kids are disappearing, a weird, tower related to a deal during the Harvest Festival showed up. Something related to that, like a weird demon pumpkin monster that, we do this festival to keep away, has decided to break the deal, I'm just spitballing some things related to this kind of thing, but all of them do feel like they're using that festival in a way, these ideas, where, like...
Yeah.
I've played where there was a romance festival in a game, but it really wasn't important. It was a backdrop. It was just sort of there. It was an excuse for us to deal with other stuff that was kind of going to happen regardless, Shit went down. We weren't really part of it, we were just there, it was going on. Which is fine. You can do that, but I feel like a lot of times when you're establishing something, you want to make it something as part of it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, this makes like sci-fi and cyberpunk things easier because they can literally just be set in the future, and Christmas can actually be a thing.
True.
Like in theory, you could do a World of Darkness game actually around Christmas, or maybe like, you know, let's say it's a werewolf game where like the spirit of Christmas is doing something, or you know.
You know, I gotta admit, in like a World of Darkness game, especially like a Werewolf the Apocalypse, I could see you coming up with something that you call the spirit of Christmas. That's an actual spirit, and you know it's gotten angry or something, so you have to placate it or something, you know, to save the holidays. It would be so ridiculous, but I could see it working. You know, but again, that's I think one of those issues with it a little bit is it still is a little silly when you kind of do stuff like that, which isn't necessarily bad for like fun one-shots doing some of these things.
Yeah,
you know, that's one of those things. Like something like that's a celebration of the founding of a country. That's pretty easy. Those are like, you know, big events. You know, like 4th of July for us, or other people have their various events like that. That's pretty easy. Halloween is technically like a harvest festival kind of thing, so you could do like a spooky harvest festival type of thing. I mentioned that. You know, the fucking Valentine's Day, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with that one. Or, you know, if...
What is it, like, on average, every 4 days, someone celebrates independence from the British?
Something like that.
No.
There are a lot of weird holidays that fit along our line that I just don't know how well they would work as making them but part of the game rather than a setting piece.
I mean, the issue there, honestly, is that people generally aren't intimately familiar with these things. So to outline them more than just, you know, as a backdrop would be difficult.
Yeah. Again, I think that's why things like a harvest festival or maybe a Christmas time of thing, you know, Christmas holidays, harvest festivals, things like that work very well. Because, like, harvest festival is basically just, we understand that kind of thing. It's like, we have county fairs. That's what a county fair is in modern day. It's just a harvest festival kind of thing, you know, that you have in a year. There's some food and events, you know, and people get together and, you know, oh, I've got this really good, you know, goat, or like a giant fucking pumpkin, you know, or something like that, you know. Those make sense, and we can kind of interpret them. There might be little traits about them, but yeah, like, I think that it's true. If we get very unusual types of holidays that are specific to a world, might not be easy to understand them as much, because you don't know the nuances, you know, and that can be an issue. And then, like, I guess sometimes there's just holidays or festivals that people have that I don't know if they translate well to fantasy worlds as much as we kind of think about them as.
See, here's the thing, like, in a weird way, a lot of Christmas stuff, as long as you don't use straight Santa Claus, is very easily like Krampus, or I don't know if you know about, you know, like, there's like the holiday elves, or holiday dwarves, I think. There's some, like, you have to basically just look into more European folklore, and you can get a lot of good stuff. Like, Christmassy.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's a better way that, you know, certainly plenty of people get an idea of how it works. So I think, like, it's like, I think it's the honest opinion that, like, anything related to that kind of Christmas, Halloween, honestly Thanksgiving kind of things are the holidays that really work more than any others.
And I mean, there's also like, see, the thing is too, you know, like something like an Independence Day of like, or a Founding Day is hard because it's all like, well, how do you celebrate it? Every country celebrates their founding stuff different. You know?
That's very true.
It's harder. Yeah,
You know,
so it's like you can understand the concept, but as far as like how it's being interrupted is hard when you don't know how it's celebrated.
and again, like, it's the thing that, like, our previous episode we talked about just using it in general, and I kind of wanted to kind of, like, go over that, like, okay, you're using it. I'd like to talk about using it as, like, part of your setting rather than just using it as a backdrop a little bit. That's today's all about, for just, kind of clarifying here, too. And I think that's the thing is, like, there are also, like, a lot of modern holiday-type stuff that I just don't know would work as well in not only, like, just sensibilities, but in the way that you could put it into a game. Like, I gotta be honest, something like a Labor Day or Arbor Day. Arbor Day is a tree day. I mean, I guess you could make a kind of druid holiday that celebrates trees, but
Yeah.
that's about it, Labor Day is kind of hard because just the nature of people.
At that point you can go more of a Sabbath type thing.
I guess you could.
Yeah, where it's all like, this is the day where people don't work. But, but at that point, it'd be, like, a lot of, but then it's like, at that point, you could also just make a holiday that does something else, That's a reason for people not to work.
Yeah.
But then again, like, the whole idea of the Sabbath does have, like, a whole thing, like, a lot of people don't know this, but it's like, you're supposed to, like, most people know the whole, like, you're supposed to rest once every 7 days, but a lot of people don't know that there's also something called the Sabbath year, where you don't plant crops every 7 years. Yeah, so it's like, there's stuff like that. And the idea is that it's supposed to be like that. As far as I know, no one ever actually did, like, the Sabbath year. But it's just, they were supposed to.
No, there's a lot of, like, interesting concepts that I think relate to the entire thing. It's just that figuring out the best way to integrate, like, a celebration into a story, it just comes down to the story either has to be directly related to that holiday, or, it's got to be something that can be connected to it in a way. And, it's just figuring that out is not impossible. I don't think at all. It's just what you're going to do. That was not a great way to say it. I think the way I want to say it is, when you decide to make a celebration, a holiday of some kind, part of your storyline, you're putting it into, like, this is the type of story I'm going to tell related to that to a degree. There are, like, you can kind of do something. Krampus can be, like, a little bit of, like, a horror Christmas thing, but you also want to avoid going too campy, which can happen, and I think it's the thing, too, is there is definitely difficulty in a lot of the stuff for finding where the challenge between telling an interesting story, telling a campy story, and in between there, too. A story that definitely...
like, some of the hard part is also perception of players. It's like, if your players don't take, like, if you do, like, a werewolf fighting an angry Christmas, the angry Christmas spirit or something, if the players don't take it seriously, it's not going to be very,
I'm not gonna lie. If I was running that, it'd be hard for me to take that very seriously.
Oh, I could if I wanted to. That's the thing, but also
I
it's
think,
just kind of like, if the players aren't having it, then there's not much I can do about it.
I think if I wanted to take it seriously, I would actually have to, like, take effort to display it in a very serious way. And it would be more than just, is the spirit of Christmas. It's sort of like, during the holiday season, this kind of a spirit of maybe generosity and, like, and love or something is, angry or something like that. And people could realize it's a Christmas spirit, but since you're not saying it's a Christmas spirit particular, certainly easier to be like, oh, hey, yeah, we're not doing a, Scrooge kind of thing here. We're doing something a little different. But, yes,
my
if
thought
I just...
would be to explain it is just all like, oh, like, let's, again, take the werewolf example thing where it's just like, oh, yeah, the massive amounts of, like, happiness can coalesce into, like, things that spirits can eat. And then but then, like, a bad spirit is coming around and eating all the good spirits, and it's causing problems, and then, so it's all, like, so it's literally Christmas spirits is the idea.
Yeah. The worm has unleashed a terrible spirit that is devouring the positive emotions of people, driving them to become more depressed, and, using that to help enslave them for their corruption of the world. That sounds very werewolf.
Yeah, right?
God, every time I talk about werewolf, there's just a little bit of it that's just like this. There's just a little silliness in the setting. Just you can't get beyond. It's fun, but there's just a little bit of that, like it's just. I love it too. Yeah, I do. I do love it.
I don't think it's, like, too silly. I think it's fine. But I do kind of get where it's all like this, okay, wait, so how does this work again?
it's not like an outright silliness. It's kind of like a subtle kind of thing, I think, that kind of can pop up. That you're like, wait a second. I'm like, no, do not look behind here. Don't mind it. This is the thing that works perfectly. Don't mind. This is how it works.
And there are plenty of other things, like you can do, like, Christmas-like thing in a fantasy setting. You could easily be like, okay, well, this holiday in the middle of winter started because people
you broke up a little bit.
By help is the idea of, like, wait, what?
You broke up there for a little bit. You're good now.
Okay. Yeah, like, an idea could be like, if you want to do, like, a gift-giving centered thing, it could be like, oh, this started as a way to, like, help those who didn't get enough of a harvest to survive the winter. And so people with more would give it to them who's less, and it kind of turned into a whole gift-giving thing.
It could have been during it could have been during this time period where there were a number of famines and stuff. So some of the more successful families during that time, in this region, decided that to help their neighbors and stuff like that, and it helped secure the town and stuff too. So like maybe like the major families are descended on those that help support the others, but there's this tradition of giving gifts between people, and that'd be very cool, interesting. Yeah, during that, it's an interesting idea. It works very well. It's that winter thing related to it, where you're getting into the cold months and stuff. There are definitely ways that you can kind of integrate interesting ideas and then just make like I don't know. Krampus. I'm not going to call Krampus all, but like that's an easy one. Like evil Christmas spirit. It's very like that's a good thing to fight against, I guess. Both figuratively and literally.
I mean, it's because like if you wanted to do like an actual monster type thing, Krampus is like a good one. There are a lot of other Christmas monsters. Honestly, I don't understand why it's like Christmas has way more creepy things than it does have like good things. Like the whole idea of like the idea of like Santa knows like everything about you apparently is like comes from like this there's apparently this idea that it's all like the elves aren't like it's elves that live in your walls that spy on you. Is something like I forget what it's like Danish or something or
okay.
Dutch or
I think I've talked about it before, but I actually saw a short on YouTube about this, because normally I check out when someone does a short, and then I scroll through a few after that just to see if there's anything interesting that the algorithm likes to tell me afterwards. But I saw one that was someone was interviewing with Santa to help out, it's maybe a mall Santa or something, and it's sort of like, and he's like, it's true what to say the song. I see you when you're sleeping, but I don't when you're awake. I know when you're awake because I can't see you anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, it's so fucking creepy. It's like...
It's a great way of doing it, yeah. Actually,
yeah, it's like... I see you when you're sleeping. Holy crap! Don't sleep
Yeah.
where Santa can see you.
I mean, in fantasy settings, it could very much be a if you want to get like a monstery kind of feel with that kind of thing, it could be there's very much that idea of like, oh yeah, no, this is the day we fought off this like weird monster that fought the village, and but its children might still be out there, and maybe that's where you get like kind of it can do like a creepy Krampus type thing if you want to.
Yeah, maybe it like stole and eats children or something particularly. So that's why, like, and it would create little like illusionary like toys to lure them out.
And it's only it sleeps for it hibernates for most of the year, and it's only out during like a month during this period or something,
And that's why parents started giving gifts to their children, because if you have a gift, you're not looking for one and you're not tempted by it. There you go. We can come up with interesting like holiday ideas that are, and I think that's the thing is you got to kind of brainstorm something that's not just like makes an interesting part of it that's part of the story and kind of stuff like that, and you can.
Yeah. And the reason like I'm going into this like example kind of thought is more just because it's like I'm like, well, if you have examples, it can be like, okay, well, so what happened? A shortage of gifts has caused a lot more children to go disappearing, and now they want adventurers to go and find the creature and save the children. So that's how you can use it as the event, and rather than just a backdrop.
No, I don't think there's some very interesting directions that can be taken with that. That'd be very fun to do.
I mean, what's hard about something like that is you would have to explain a lot of it up front. There could be a way to do it, like, if people are like, oh, we need you to help find our children, and some other person might be like, oh yeah, but beware the monster, or, I don't know. That could be a way to do it. I just feel like it'd be hard for, like, a one-shot, because that's what I'm thinking in the context of a one-shot, is generally what you do, like, a holiday thing for.
Yeah, I feel like it comes down to also, like, how long you want to do with it. Like, if you're doing a one-shot, you can do something silly, you can do something that's, like, just out there, kind of thing like that. That's pretty easy. But, like, if you want to actually make it, like, a story point or a small adventure or something, even not related around the holidays, you can make something festival, holiday-related, do that. You just... You have to dive deeper into it than, like, like that.
I kind of like... I'll let you go.
You go ahead. I was just gonna...
I was just gonna say, I kind of liked the idea of, in Curse of Strahd, they have a whole thing about holidays, because, in Vallaki, that's the second town, the middle town, the one in the middle, I think.
You might be correct.
The mayor is just all, like, working so hard to make people who are, like, everyone's miserable. He was like, we need everyone to be happy. I'm tired of everyone being sad. So he basically just started inventing a bunch of festivals, and they were, like, super pathetic festivals. But he's, like, trying to bring people's moods up. But it's actually making everyone more depressed, because it's all like, we have to put in all of this work to make the mayor happy to make this festival. And it's just a lot of extra work. And, like, there's literally, like, an event you can describe where it's basically just, like, a happiness parade just going horribly wrong.
God, I do remember that. That was a fun little bit of thing there, like the most depressing festival of them all.
Yeah. Like, there's lots of things you can do with it. I mean, honestly, it's just kind of nice to almost think through. I actually think it's very important to think through holidays for a setting if you're making your own. They breathe a lot of life, and they actually create their own stories in and of themselves, like we kind of described. It's like, okay, so this region was plagued by a monster, and they give their children gifts around the time it awakens to prevent them from getting, eaten. Like, that's kind of dark, but also I understand why they're kind of as a festival around it, too. It would keep the kids even more interested, Yeah, and then, like, an Arbor Day, where it's just like, yeah, I could see just a druid holiday, where the druids get people to plant as many trees as possible on that day.
And honestly, it could be like there's a tree blight going upon that, like, some evil druids put out that you have to stop it to, like, because it's trying to ruin the holiday and the festivity, or
or maybe
like...
maybe that's why the festivity started, because there was a tree blight an evil curse that blighted trees, and now they every year plant trees to fight the blight.
Or maybe there's like, honestly, the worst of them all, an evil businessman who wants to like log a bunch of this forest or something. So you have to figure out like what to do about that.
And then the party decides to trick him into thinking that 3 ghosts visit him. And one from the future, one from the past, and one from the present. And the players
you could go that. I mean, you could go that route, or
oh
you
no,
know.
I'm just saying that's totally something players might come up with.
Yeah.
In response.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just like the idea of like
about the thoughts of players.
Yeah. Evil fantasy businessman trying to cut down a forest for Arbor Day. For your version of Arbor Day. Because again, like we're taking the idea of Arbor Day and making it something completely different, you know, and like but it's the essence of something, so people might catch on to that. But I guess the almost joking in a way is you don't necessarily want people to catch on to it. You just do something interesting and, you know, have this celebration be kind of the backdrop to do anything.
I mean, and honestly, I think it's just kind of nice to take real world ideas about why people celebrate things. And because honestly, people celebrate things. Why do people celebrate things? Because generally, in some cases, it's to accomplish a goal. In other cases, it's just to celebrate something that happened. You know, there's lots of, like, reasons, but, like, you know, like, let's take, for example, Earth Day. Which is, like, I think the idea of Earth Day is that you use as little power as possible to, like, save, so it's, like, you know, so you say, to, like, help save the Earth, or whatever.
It's like Arbor Day, only on a more massive scale, I feel like. They're very similar holidays.
They are, but Arbor Day is more about planting trees, whereas Earth Day is more about not using fossil fuels, so it's like you don't use power. You try and limit your power usage to prevent, like, you know, fossil fuels from being used. But my idea, though, is that, like, let's say you have a magical setting. Maybe it's that, like, your like, some theory came about that, like, oh, we're using too much of the magic, and it's going to create horrible curses if people keep doing it. So we have a day every year where nobody's allowed to use magic, and that's the holiday. Like, could be interesting.
Yeah.
Like, people are worried about using up the natural resources of magic or something.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be an idea to generate ideas for holidays as using existing.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of like, you could easily come up with something that exists for our real-world idea for a holiday or celebration and come up with something appropriate for that, and then it's just... You gotta make the effort on a lot of stories. We probably retreaded a little bit of the what we talked about before, but I felt like, you know, we talked about revisiting things, and I felt like here I kind of had an idea of like going a little bit of a direction that's a little different than what we talked about before. So yeah. I hope we kind of did.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about these topics is we can always say more. So why not just revisit some? Mm-hmm. Honestly, if we ever get to a point where we can get, like, I mean, does anyone ever ask questions? Maybe we should ask people, like, if you have a question for a topic, maybe you could write it in the comments, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something you could do. And you could get ideas for that from comments, so.
Anyway, good point. Definitely. No, I think,
about stuff. It's never bad.
Yeah. I think, don't really have much else to say then on this. I think I kind of talked in a direction I wanted to. Think? Maybe? Sure.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about how to wrap it actually into a plot rather than just as a backdrop, which was the idea.
Yeah.
But we also talked a lot more about how to create it, too, as a backdrop. I don't remember what we did last time, though. Was I here last time?
Maybe. When was that? That was on... Let me see here. 2 years ago I talked about that last.
Okay, so no. I was not.
It was not this year, but last year on January 1st. So 2 January 1sts ago. Wow. That's quite a ways away that we went, last time we kind of
'Cause
talked about it.
I only got back into helping you with discussing tabletop within the last year. I know that much.
Yeah. Definitely have enjoyed having, it helped out because Momo was there for a lot, but Momo's been a lot more spotty just because of like life schedule, and so like having at least someone that's relatively solid has been good to keep the show going. But I do think I do have to expand and like talk to people a lot more and figure out who's around and stuff sometimes. So.
Three is nice. 3 is nice for this for like a talk show.
Yeah. I feel like that 3 or 4 is where I might want to aim to 4 at most, but like 3 or 4 is kind of like that place where you get it. 3 is that kind of like, I think, the sweet spot, but you can kind of like go up and down from there a little bit. But yeah, what
I find interesting is for the type of talk show you do at the start, 2 is fine, but for like discussions and stuff, 3 is usually better.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're just going over stuff, it's usually like not too bad. But then like for a discussion, it's best to have like another person. Because like you can play back and forth off each other, but like usually a third person really creates this interesting cycle.
Yeah.
Where everyone has something to say.
Let's talk about our week in gaming. Hey, do you have a Baldur's Gate 3 update?
Yes. I finished Shadow Heart's questline basically.
Okay, cool.
I really can't say anything without major spoilers, so I finished Shadow Heart's questline. So, those of you who know, I picked the option to let her decide what to do, and she did the thing that's, some might consider evilish. But I think it's fine. My character doesn't care. I'm playing him not to be evil, but just to be kind of not good.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, yeah. I find one more zombie in town. I have no idea where they are. I've not been paying close enough attention.
I understand that kind of thing. You're like, what was I doing? What was I seeing? Did I notice all this stuff? I've been there, done that for that.
Yeah. Basically, someone who creates like zombies was like, I want my zombies back. And I found 2 of them. Third one I don't like, but the first 2 I remember because I saw them very early on when I was like exploring everything and talking to everyone. But then afterwards, I got kind of tired of that because Baldur's Gate is gigantic, and so I just stopped paying attention to the people around and just going to like the buildings. And now I have no clue where the last one is.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to stuff like that, that's kind of stuff that if I encountered, I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? Look that up.
I'm considering it.
Like I've become much more like I don't like as if I can do it organically, naturally, pretty like easily, quickly, or maybe with a little bit of challenge. I don't mind. But nowadays, I've definitely got to that point in time that I don't want to like hit my wall when I head into a wall or something for too long without being like I gotta do something. It's like when I was playing the Dragon Quest IV randomizer, looking up that world map helped a lot because I was able to be like, and I like got a list of like I could look into what's in these towns, what I'm looking for. Because like I gotta be honest, I didn't realize one of the locations I missed had 2 hidden chests which had like 2 of the key items I needed. Sort of like, that's like, oh, well, that's where these were.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's like, I mean, I'm just gonna move on, and then if we can get back to it later, because there's stuff I need to get back to anyway.
Yeah.
But part of me is just like, I kind of want to move on with the main quest a little bit, because I know there's at least 2 major points to the main quest, so I might as well do one of them.
Yeah.
Basically, I explored the entire upper town, and basically I have to go into the sewers for stuff. The sewers are also gigantic, so, like, I'm also just like... So I'm like... It's basically like a whole dungeon down there, as is fairly common in the idea of Baldur's Gate.
Sewer adventures.
That's what we're doing tomorrow.
No, that's actually something that, I just never felt like I had a great time to use it. I actually do have rules for... if you recall, it was talked about early on that the garbage system of Corvosa is taken care of by a large degree by having Orthodox in the sewers.
Orthodox, yeah, that's what they are.
I have rules for one breaking out and escaping. I just have never used it. I've considered it here and there, but it's also like, it's just like an extra combat. I don't know if I want to use it.
Well, you could do it. You could do it as a side thing where it's all like you see a bunch of guards fighting an Orthodox.
Yeah.
Orthodox. And then you could jump in to help if we wanted to or something.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a thing I've looked at, considered. I just don't know.
Let's be real. Guards would be on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of their job.
Yep. But
in Baldur's Gate, it's taken care of by kobolds.
Kobolds.
Yep. The sewer janitors are kobolds. It very much says that apparently, like, sewer. It's like, oh yeah, at one point you're like, oh yeah, the you get run across this and it's like, oh yeah, the sewers are really starting to smell. And the guard's like, yes. There's been a lot of kobold murders that have been happening, so we have a shortage of kobolds. So the sewers are starting to stink. We get it, but we're working on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we did a good job with Crimson Queen. If you missed out on Wednesday, I think I talked about this, that it was a session that I felt like didn't work as well as the previous one. I don't think it was bad, but it's just
it was fine.
It was the issue that like I kind of had to vaguely rewrite what was going on because they had just something really stupid in its place. I thought, in my opinion, I'm like, this is just.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been over real fast with the other one, just because it's like you have literally two people who I think had prepared hold person,
and flying. Stuff that makes
flying. I was just like,
stuff that would just be like.
Yeah, like, what does the book even go over, like, hold person? I feel like that'd be like...
You're at that level, I guess it's just you make saves. And, save... I think they can assume things like, sleep and stuff like that could occur, stuff that could, disabling spells are just, are you in range? Can you cast it? Sure. Great.
Yeah, I just feel like if you're gonna do a chase... By the way, the original plot was a chase scene. Yeah, so if you're gonna do a chase scene, I feel like you should, if you're gonna like have your GM, if you're writing a book that has this kind of magic in it, you really should explain. Okay, so during this chase scene, and then you have these rules for a chase scene. You should be like, okay, now here's what happens if some of these more other types of spells happen. Like, like if they put to sleep, remember that they might fall off the roof.
I guess that's true.
Or or if there's like a hold person, remember that like. Or maybe she has like a potion that makes it so she can't be held or something. I don't know.
There's definitely some points that would be like very interesting to have as an opening in a lot of those spells, but I feel like it's also like a lot of the books just allow for in quotations what they refer to as common sense for players, which is one of those things that I both love and hate about the Adventure Pass. The Adventure Pass never quite feel very beginner friendly.
Yeah, beginner GM friendly.
Beginner GM or beginner player friendly. They kind of are, but really aren't.
I feel like honestly, they don't seem beginner GM friendly. Oh, okay. So where they're not beginner player friendly is that they do require the players to go along with things, which beginning players are notoriously bad at.
Yes.
Beginning players are very much like, I want to do the thing I want to do. That's what this game's about, right? Whereas, like, experienced players go like, no, it's about making it fun for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, non-experienced GMs are like, what am I supposed to... So what happens if weird things happen? I need to know the rules for these. And Pathfinder is notoriously horrible at all of its complicated rules. For it's like, you fall asleep. If you fall, like, 5 feet, then you have a chance to wake up by rolling this DC check, but if you fall 6 feet, then you have another DC.
It's not... Okay, I'm gonna say, not that bad, but there are points and places in... I know, but But I'm also was going to say, there are some places in there that it is actually that bad.
I know, yeah.
It's usually just, there's these, like, fringes where it gets really weird, and the rules become, like, weirdly complex, because it's sort of like, no one really knew what to do, so they just kind of took a little bit of 3.5 and sprinkled something that they think would make it easier, or made up stuff. And also, I feel like a lot of times, they, like, it's the problem with the adventure passes, they like to invent little things you can do. And they're rarely really good. Most of the time, they're passable, but also, like, pretty much every time I've encountered one, you probably can live without it also.
Yeah.
So, like, this is neat, it's fine, it might work, but you didn't need it. And the chase scene, it's fine, you didn't really need it. Like, I gotta be honest, it's like, I guess they put something in place to make it more of a dynamic chase rather than just I run after someone, which is fine.
They probably had, like, the idea of chase rules versus, like, you rolled higher than them on acrobatics, you catch them, you know?
Yeah. And more than just,
fail,
like,
they get away.
you follow them and catch them. But again, like, trying to figure out, like, good replacements and stuff is just difficult. So, I think it was okay, and that's all that matters on that one. And, like, you know,
I think it was, like I put it, I realized, you know, like, through talking to you and I think the bigger issue is just there didn't feel like there was like any conflict, like, as far as stories go.
Yeah, no, and again, like, it's that finding great places to put conflict in, like, because the thing is, like, I gotta be honest, you've managed to actually avoid combat pretty well up till now. You avoided combat with the Cowhammer Boys completely.
Okay. Conflict in a story sense is not, like,
I know,
just something versus something, so it could be social, like, social, it could even be, you know, us striving to fight against nature, so it's,
yeah, this one didn't really have any kind of conflict of any type. I will agree on that one there. That was like me, because the original stories, the only conflict was running after someone. I mean, that was really it.
Yeah, and that's a sort of conflict. I mean, it counts. I'm just saying, just like, now, if you wanted to make it a little bit more interesting, it could have been like, someone, like, left her apartment. Oh man, this would have been interesting if you wanted to include the chase a little bit, knowing it would be real short because of how we did. It could have been like someone left her apartment and it was like her friend trying to, like, cover up, and then that's how we found out about stuff. That would have been kind of neat. Anyway,
that might be neat too. But again, like, I just basically, because I didn't know the direction you were going to go, I just made an outline for myself of kind of like the idea I wanted to go, and just winged it mostly. You know. And then just use some previous knowledge to integrate a few little details for that would be a later on stuff early, you know. So there was a lot of it was a good session in the way that I was able to, like, maintain the thing very interestingly, and like, you know, follow the kind of basics of the story pretty well. But again, like, it's a difficulty too, because I don't necessarily dislike Pathfinder combat, but I feel like a lot of adventure paths love to throw it out there when I feel like it should be like one of those things. And I think they got better when they come to, like, second edition, where they're like, they give a lot more options to avoid combat. You know, they actually talk about that a lot more. But there should be options to avoid combat, or there should be just, like, you know, the combat should be a thing that exists as part of it, as, like, just one of your tools in the chest. And yeah, I don't know. It's older paths, it's harder to kind of, like, figure that out a lot of times and stuff like that. You know, physical. Anyway.
Yep. I mean, original Pathfinder has a lot of, like, people who like tactics. There's a lot of that. So it's like, kind of see that where a lot of earlier, especially a lot of earlier ones, would be like a lot of combat, because 3.5 and Pathfinder were both very just tactical. You know, even social, there's even like social combat and stuff, you know?
It's leftovers from the, you know, older editions. That's the best way to say it. So. Anyway, I guess that, unless there's any other games, because I don't think I do any other games right now during the week. Did you do anything else?
We had Joe's game.
Oh, we did have goddamn Joe's game. it's every other week, so like my brain just doesn't work. So, and we're gonna go 3 weeks this time. It's the holidays.
Yeah, because it's 2 holiday weekends.
Yeah.
New Year's
So
Eve and Christmas Eve both.
we had Joe's game.
What
did we all do at Joe's game?
We nearly walked into a portal to hell.
That's right. We nearly walked through a portal to hell. That was the major thing that happened. Because I gotta be honest, sort of like, it was this weird point in time where I actually was thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't know if we're actually supposed to do this or not. And the thing is, like...
Okay, out of character, I was in the same boat, but once Joe started to be like, and we're like, oh, okay, we're not.
Yeah. Which, I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't have put it there. I think that's a mark of Joe not having as much experience, like, because it's one of those things, as soon as you put something like that in front of players, they're just gonna do it. He was lucky he had Momo there to stop it, but I'm like, honestly speaking, we're trying to trick this guy. Only one of us knows that it's a portal to hell, and the rest of us are just like, okay.
I couldn't just say, oh, hey, everyone, it's a portal to hell, because then you'd know there's more people. There's only supposed to be one person there.
Yeah, so we're just like, I guess we're going into this weird portal to, like, I guess we have to go through the portal to trick him, and trap him, and, like, what our plan was, I guess was, like, get information out of him by trapping him or something.
Yeah, but it's also just all, like, this could go horribly wrong in so many ways. It's not smart, but also, but again, like, part of me is also just like, is this what we're supposed to be doing as far as the GM's concerned, too?
Yeah.
Because there's also some of that where it's just like,
Because we did have the element of surprise, technically, but...
Yep.
But no, that apparently wasn't what we were supposed to, but... I don't know. I feel like that was, like, a weird plot point in the entire thing, but it was fine. It wasn't, like, major enough to, like, detract us a little bit, but I feel like that was just, like, a little bit of a weirdness thing.
Yeah. No, it wasn't, like, a big point. It just was, like, the first little bit, but also I'm like... And also, it didn't fit my character, because you guys were peer pressuring my character, and I'm like, my character actually is very bad about that.
Well, the thing is, like, again, like, we had kind of been like, okay, we're gonna go, like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, we'd already pressured you by chance, and so you're already on that mindset, so it's like, you're not changing your mind when, like, probably none of us would have agreed with that. But, like,
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, yeah, I feel like my character's a very forceful man when he, like, actually does his job,
No, it was just like, I happened to have picked up the Alter Self spell, so I could have done it.
Excellent, then you will do it. It's like, what? Yeah, you're in charge here. Great. Keep up the good work.
Yep, it's fun. It was fun. But yeah, no, I was just like, okay. Yeah, so we didn't give it. So he attacked us. He threw imps at us.
Yep. We fought some imps.
Combat.
We informed some people about, like, a powerful sword so we can get it away from us, because I really don't trust us with that at all.
Yeah. And we got 200 gold.
Yeah. I'm really not gonna lie. It's sort of like, it was an interesting item, and I feel like in so many other groups that could have gone horribly awry.
Yeah, no, honestly, like, I can tell, like, the one person who's definitely newer was just like, we should use it! And I'm just like, no, we shouldn't.
I trust that Joe wouldn't have done something too bad to us, but it's also that thing of, like, I feel like it's not quite a deck of many things, but it's sort of like along those lines of, you just gave, like,
wish spell, by the way.
Yeah, it's a luck blade with one wish spell on it. The luck blade itself is incredibly powerful. I'm sorry, like, if you just gave us
+3 and crit something, right?
It's +3, and it also gives you, like, +1 to all your saves and, like, skills and stuff. So, yeah, it's pretty good. I look it up. It's a legendary item, though. Legendary magic item. So it tells you how powerful it is in general.
Oh no, so I mean, yeah. So it's just a +1, and +1 bonus to saving throws as well. Oh, while it's on your person, not even attuned.
Yeah.
Made with the if the sword's on your person, okay. But then use it, you have to use luck, which you can re-roll any roll once per day.
there are some really, like, again, it's just a generally speaking powerful magic item. Fortunately, like, I think in this case, 5e isn't too bad when it comes to power levels for magic items in a lot of other systems. It's both a positive and negative for 5e, I feel like,
Yeah.
But in this case...
5e has this weird thing where it's all like the only thing that really makes things harder and more survivable is your health numbers and damage numbers.
Yeah.
Not your chance to hit or your ability to avoid damage.
Again, it's some of the disadvantages of 5e in certain ways, but it, generally speaking, it's fine, and, we make it work, and the system isn't so bad. But again, we got the, it's still a very powerful magic item that we honestly shouldn't have had. But I understand he's doing it for a story point. But, like...
Should have tied a lot more consequence to it. Like for example, oh, no, they knew it was a luck blade. They might not have known it had a wish spell on it, but they wanted it back. And it had something happen, they would have known. Like, that might have been a little bit more pressure, where it's like, no, we shouldn't use it. They know. I mean, we could just steal it, but that would be bad because they know how valuable it is.
There's a lot of points about that could have been interesting related to it. I don't think it was necessarily bad the way he did things with it. I agree.
I think it's fine. I think
it was fine. It was interesting.
He's got mostly good players, so it's fine.
Yeah. So, and the two other people, at least, I feel like they are agreeable in a lot of aspects when it comes to things, so that we can make it work with them, I still am trying to get a hold of them a little bit, so
Yeah, I like Kira. The other guy, though, he's only been here and both times he's made me go, I'm not sure you grasp the concept of how this works.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of for both of them, both of them are very I feel like have a little bit of that video game roleplay mentality, which it kind of ruins you. Your Skyrim mentality, I think, that kind of ruins you sometimes.
I don't think Kira does as much. He's fine. He even said he's GM for a number of games. I think it's just, for him, it's just he just made a very, very strange character, which just makes it kind of hard sometimes.
I just made a drunk dwarf and it called it a day.
I made another person, but it's also fun because apparently there's a bunch of dark Croco where he come from, so that's probably just what I was assumed to have been.
Yeah.
I mean, my history is a bit weirder.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It's supposed to be a very interesting, unique world. There was a lot of options, and I don't mind that Joe did a lot of options for things, but it's also sort of he wanted that because it feels appropriate to a planes-hopping game.
Yeah.
But it is that kind of catch-22 a lot of times for a lot of these games. So it's sort of well, yeah, but you got to deal with it early on rather than before you get us to Sigil. Yeah. It might just be fine for us just to be basic characters that end up at Sigil. We don't have to be all weird shit to make it work. But I also feel like, plenty of things you're still technically a based species, I think. So
yeah, the other guy who's playing in Ooze is technically a third party character. So but it's fine. It's balanced at least. It's just
again, that's an advantage of 5th edition. It's it's not impossible. It is a harder one to unbalance. Luckily. Again,
anything's easy to unbalance if you break rules.
We've gotten rid of the sword theoretically, and now I'm meeting with a dwarf, and other than that, I really don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, that's next. He's the meeting with the dwarf guy, and then after that, I don't know where we're going because we've kind of cleared everything up. Although we also we haven't found any reason to pursue people into Sigil yet, so I don't know where Joe's going with that.
Well, it's the thing that
setting that up by now.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a problem with it because it's sort of we have the plot of these interdimensional people plus, like there's something wrong with the portals. But I'm going to admit, he has never made it feel like this is our problem because we're just schlubs.
Yeah, it's very much our town told, or like actually no, it's not even our town told us to. We took our own initiative to look into this for our town.
Yeah, like we happen to be there, and
yeah,
I get the feeling that I probably had gone to that bar a couple of times, so I'm like, oh, I kind of like their drink. I guess I can help them out. This is weird. Frozen.
Yeah,
oh,
and I'm like, I'm hired by your family, so I might as well help. The other two had absolutely no reason to, except that they kind of jumped in to help.
I feel like they were good people and trying to jump in to help, and are kind of being dragged along with it now. Which is fine. That's gonna be kind of like a storyline. Is you're a good person, you help out, and all of a sudden you're dragged along on it. That was a fine introduction for characters. So I feel like they do work.
To be fair, actually, I feel like my character has a much better reason because like an old professor basically got murdered because I tried to look into this. Like my character has a little bit more investment now than anyone else.
Oh yeah, no, you have more investment. I'm concerned about stuff, but I'm also I really probably don't know if this entire thing is anything that we can handle. I'm sort of I would like for us not to be involved, but because I never thought we were gonna be we can take on that guy. I was like, well, maybe we can trick him and find out what's going on. And
yeah, I didn't think we could fight him. It's always nervous. Is okay, so is this a spook, or is this he's just making the deal, or is this the big bad? You generally don't want to show the big bad for. Honestly, the primary reason is that players will attempt to fight them, and if they do somehow succeed.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was that big. I think he was still a bigger bad, but...
Yeah.
No, I honestly think that, something needs to happen to people's... it needs to start affecting, our characters' families. Because all of our characters have families, except, well, one of them doesn't, but... But 3 out of the 4 players have families. So it could start to affect them, and then our characters might be like, oh, okay, this actually we should probably actually get, that would be a good way to handle it.
Yeah, I just, there must be a direction that we're being planned to go in, and I just don't know what it is yet.
He's not foreshadowing. I just feel like he's not foreshadowing enough.
Yeah, no. And which can be an issue too, because sometimes that foreshadowing is very difficult to put in there. I definitely understand that.
Okay, foreshadowing is a bit less, is not what I mean. Well, it is, but it's more of a, basically, it's just it's basically just making it clear where things are leading. For example, in the Crimson Queen right now, we are trying to help stabilize. We're working for the guard to help stabilize the city.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing right now.
But certainly, there's also this.
What to do? We can definitely go back to the guard to ask
for
help.
But along the way, I'm sure you've picked up that not all is right in the throne room. Basically, there is some influence,
a lot of intrigue and plots going on, and people trying to vie for power.
And that could cause a lot more problems in the city that might end up, because you've become involved, something you have to take care of.
Yes.
By something you have to take care of, I mean, it's the obvious thing that's going to happen for, players to understand what's going on. The intrigue is going to cause more problems.
Yeah, so it's we know what's coming. We kind of have an idea of where we're going, and we also have something to fall back on if we don't,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's more what I mean. It's a foreshadowing, but it's not this is good. I hinted that this will happen. It's more of I'm foreshadowing where the plot's going, so you have an idea about what's going on.
Yeah, we don't. I feel like maybe giving us more stuff about this organization, or something that makes us feel like they are doing something, because we don't even know if they're related to the portal stuff at all. We can kind of be like, maybe they are.
We assume because they started, but at the same time, it's just like, okay, so they both start. For all we know, there is that point where it's like, for all we know, they could be trying to stabilize the portals.
And that's the thing about Bander's kind of at this point about like, well, they're happening around here, so they're related to it somehow. Whether it's where they're the cause of it or they're taking advantage of it, I don't know. But they are somehow connected with this entire thing.
Yeah.
I just don't know the depths of that connection. That's kind of Bander's mind about the entire thing, which is also like what the fuck do we do about this? I'm sorry, my character's just like, he's just going along with this for now, but he's also like, I don't know what to do about this. This is like stuff beyond my skill.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I'm glad I made a very good-natured character. It was just like, I want to help where I can, but I'm like, but also it's just which is making it like, yeah. Like, your character isn't as good-natured. You need a little bit more personal stake, which is why I think it will be very important for Joe to include that stake to you, whether it's the world falling apart, or magic disappearing, or, something that could actually affect your character. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing, it's just, like, there's basically three, as far as I see, there's like three types of interconnected, like, motivation. There's something happening to someone, like, I'm kind to where anything happening to anyone makes me want to help. Then there's the honestly far more normal, something's happening to people I care about. That's where most people in the world stand. And then there's the really selfish people where it's like, I don't care unless it's happening to me. So, like, for example, someone stole your favorite sword would be that one, where it's like, it doesn't actually affect anyone but you, but that's finally enough to get you on. Whereas, like, the other one might be like, oh, okay, this person kicked your sibling, your sister's dog. Okay, I'm gonna get involved. And the last one is, I saw someone kick push someone that I don't know, that I'm gonna get involved. Like, those are the different tiers. So it's like, in my opinion, it's like, those are the tiers of, like, need. And he hasn't given us a lot of personals. So, like, we're really only going off of the, like, you almost, I think the second tier is, I think, the best one you want to try and get players involved in. Like, something's happening to people you care about, or you yourself, It's this weird thing that I think Bander both does and does not care for his family, because he's very estranged from him. So he doesn't really have someone necessarily he's close to now, enough for, I think, that to really work very well. So that's a weird thing. Like, if I heard something bad happen to my family or stuff, I'd be like, oh man, that sucks. Oh well. I'll mourn for them, Yeah. I mean, what if something happened to your butler?
I mean, I like him and all like that too, but I don't know if I'd necessarily, like, jump to his protection. I think it's sort of like, Bander just hasn't allowed himself to grow close to anybody, probably just because of some things that happened. Like, he had some kind of got burned or something, or like something happened towards the end of Bard College, and so that's why he started drinking. And then, like, he was thrown over to this other city because, like, he still has, like, a sense of pride that he actually does at least the basic job he needs to, but he also would rather just drown his thoughts out in booze most of the time. So he's focused on what's going on now, which is helping him not want to get a drink. But also there's a lot about this that makes him want to get a drink. Interdimensional murder assassins who are causing the fabric of reality to break down. I kind of want a drink.
Yeah. I mean, that could also be a character thing where it's just like, your character's drunk at the wrong time, although there aren't very good mechanics for drunkenness in Pathfinder, in D&D.
Nope. Pathfinder just gets some penalties to your stats. It's a template. Enjoy the drunk template. I don't know. I do still like Joe's game. I want to see where it goes. I don't think it's been bad.
Yeah, basically, he's doing the thing which I think is hard to do. It's very much, there's something happening in the world. Mm-hmm. He's got that down. Things are happening, there's a plot going on. That's actually something that's very hard for early GMs, who don't think about what's happening in the world, they only think what's happening to players. But then stage 3, I think, is where you really play that to the characters to get them involved.
Yeah. Definitely getting our involvement a little bit more is a good one. It's sort of like, fucking Crimson Queen's very easy about it. Hey, there's riots that are threatening the stability of your homes and your lives. Here you go.
I'm gonna be completely honest. As a whole, Crimson Queen is terrible about that part because it's literally just, okay, here's this guy. You killed him. Your work is done. There's no reason for you to continue. I think that was very terrible. But
oh no. The transition from one to the other was terrible. Like if we had started with hey, like if there are different character introductions, and we kind of started with, hey, there's some terrible riots going on that are threatening the people that you might love, or the stability of the city, and you're involved with that, that might drive you to become involved and kind of go down that path a little bit there. That could have been a route that I would have gone, but we kind of have this start-stop to get to this point almost, because we have the first adventure, and then you're kind of stopping, and then the thing that's happening that could also be involved with you happens, and it's sort of like, this is a weird jittery mess to a degree.
Yeah, I think it has a very rough start, but now things are picking up, and I think it's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
I think it's fine.
I don't know. I don't know how to integrate. I didn't really look into switching things around to integrate that hiccup a little bit better, but I think you probably could have figured something out. But I think, again, I do agree. I think it was fun.
Yeah, it was fine. We were good. We played it fine. I just, again, my big thing is just that, as far as writing a module goes, that was not given enough thought.
I'm sorry, there are rarely modules that do anything close to that do it right. I'm sorry, so many modules are just written so badly.
Yeah, it sounds like Pathfinder needs some better story directors for their books.
Honestly, I haven't really checked up on much of second edition. They might be a lot better in second edition.
I'm planning to run a second edition one, so I will let you know if I decide on a module, although I also need to ask about players. But also none of that's happening until at least January because life is crazy.
Yeah. I don't think definitely and there's also the difference between a singular module and an adventure path. Definitely very different the way they've written. I've played through some Pathfinder single-based adventures, or read through them at least. They preference them very differently because they basically leave it a lot more up to the GM to establish stuff, because they're like, here's some basics, how to throw your players into it a little bit more. We don't go into as depth about it as much because, well, you don't need to, the same way. It's only written for one adventure, so if they're integrated with other adventures, that's on you. Otherwise, you play it on its own. It's not like the adventure paths, which are 6 adventures squished together in a common story, where it allows it to develop a lot more.
Yeah, and the hard part is each one costs $25, $30. So it's if you want to actually read through it all and figure out how it all connects all at once, you have to spend a whole chunk of money.
The PDFs are at least cheaper.
Decide.
Yeah, the PDFs are at least a little bit more reasonable. And I've gotten a bunch of them over the years for things like Humbles and stuff. So that helps. But anyway.
Yeah.
We can leave it there. That was a good discussion for our week. Oh, you missed it during the week. I did have, of course, tabletop topics that I can shout out to everybody if you want to go check them out. On Tuesday, I talked about combat and conflict in Star Trek Adventures, because it was an interesting topic to talk about. Thursday, I talked about the Gripply, the Kellish ethnicity, and Quadria as a country in Galarian and Pathfinder. Today, I talked about the Werebears, I really liked talking about the Werebears. I've got to admit, I've talked about a lot of the changing breeds and werewolf, and the Werebears happen to be one of the ones now that I've talked about that I'm like, these are really neat. They're kind of one of the more neater ones out of the entire group here. They present them in such a nice way. Out of all the changing breeds, I'm sorry, so many of them are assholes.
Yeah.
God damn it. The Gruul are just really nice dudes. And dudettes, They're really kind of just decent beings in comparison to so many changing breeds out there. I'm sorry. So many of them. And granted, yes, I think that, if you're talking actual werewolves, it depends on your tribe there. But just in general for many other ones, because most of them have murdered off, you just don't have as much options beyond asshole or non-asshole. Anyway. Check all those things out. Yeah. I think I'll leave it off. Remember, check out all the other stuff I do. Remember, check out the stuff Worm does. I'll throw out a link in
Diamondwyrm,
the live.
twitch.tv/Diamondwyrm, at Diamondwyrm on Twitter.
Yeah. There's the shout out up on the Twitch side. Yep. He'll be doing some streaming. I'll be doing plenty of streaming. I don't know if I'm back Monday or not. I'll have to make a decision, but I'll be at least around Tuesday, talk more tabletop, and go in the rest of the week there. If you want to see gaming stuff, I've been just trying to finish up a Dragon Warrior 4, the original NES version randomizer, which was really fun to check out. But the problem with that is, like, when you actually play the game, they give you hints as to where to go next. It's not as effective as the randomizer. So you have to remember where those things are directly. It's a little bit less open than some of the other games that I've played with randomizers. A little bit more difficult to notice those. So, but still, not bad. I would definitely recommend checking it out at some point. So I'm doing that, and then yes, I think that's all the major shout-outs. Remember, check out Crimson Queen Wednesdays at 9 p.m. This show every Saturdays at 6 p.m. All my tabletops content goes up on YouTube, so if you're checking it out on YouTube, hey YouTube. If not, it's up on Twitch, and you can watch it there. Remember to give all the supports to the different channels and stuff. Remember to check out Worm, and I'm going to say to all of you, if I don't see you on Monday, have a happy Christmas or Merry Christmas for all of you who celebrate it. Hope that your holidays in general for the rest of this weekend and have it gone well, going to go well, and I'll see people on Tuesday at least, very least, if not before then. So until that time, I'm going to say farewell, everyone. Bye.